And we are here for episode 3 of the Loose Wheel podcast.
You can't see our faces this time.
You couldn't ever.
I knew that.
That's Ethan. I'm Andrew. We are the hosts of the Loose Wheel podcast. And let's get right into it.
All right.
We weren't here last week, so we have double the reviews.
I was in beautiful San Jose, California.
I was here. I was just committing, doing nothing. Because that's just how it is when no one else is here.
Really fun stuff.
Yeah. All right. F1 raced in Qatar. Ethan, go ahead.
Man, that race was an absolute mess. The heat was absurd. Multiple drivers struggled because of that. Logan Sargent retired. You had Esteban Ocon, I believe it was, who threw up on like the 16th lap of the race. Alex Albon struggled to get out of his car after the race due to just pure heat exhaustion. Fernando Alonso was complaining throughout the race of it being so hot that he wanted the team to pour water over him during a pit stop. It was really a mess, but we saw a lot of great drives. The two McLarens are just on top of the world right now. Max Verstappen, of course, is Max Verstappen. It was another dominating win for him, and then you have the double podium from the McLarens. So now, if McLaren can keep up this pace, they could be challenging going up the constructors' standings. It'll be really interesting to see where they finish, because after such a terrible start to the year, they are an amazing car with two amazing drivers.
Yeah. Piastri winning the sprint race. It's not a real win in my opinion, but it is his first career win.
Yeah, I agree with that. It counts for something, but it's not the same as a Grand Prix win. Still very impressive at such a young age in his first season. It was really cool to see.
Yeah, I don't remember. The short time I followed Formula 1, I don't remember any rookie winning.
I think this might be completely wrong, but I believe Max Verstappen was the last rookie to win. Was that his rookie season?
Yeah, I do believe that was his rookie year where he got called up to Red Bull.
I'm showing my...
Yeah.
So, beyond the sprint and the race, Lance Stroll shoved, who was that, like his performance coach or something like that?
I think so, yeah.
Out of the way, after getting knocked out in Q1. Lance is... Well, he has job security, but he has really been making it a discussion if he should be removed from the Aston Martin drive. He's not been good this year. A temper tantrum like that, shoving someone on the team, is inexcusable, really.
Yeah, I don't know what led to that, but it's you can't do that. Going back to it being hot in Qatar, this is, of all my years of watching racing, this is the worst it's been. I've seen NASCAR drivers retire from races because they're sick, but they were just only one to struggle with that. I've seen NASCAR drivers throw up in their helmets. Noah Gragson had that problem a lot, and when he was coming up through the ranks. But he was the only one to struggle. This is the most widespread struggle I've seen, and Another thing is that I've thought in the past F1 races are too short.
Mm.
It doesn't push the drivers enough. After seeing what happened in Qatar, I'm not so sure if I still believe that.
Yeah.
The cars are harder to drive than anything else, but I still would like to see longer races. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a different discussion. I think that in that race in particular, like that race should have been shorter. It was, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
at least next year,
Mm-hmm.
the race is going to be in a very different time of the year,
Mm-hmm.
so it won't be as hot. But yeah, that race honestly just shouldn't have happened. And quick correction for earlier in the pod, it was Lewis Hamilton who was the last rookie to win. Verstappen's first race in a Red Bull is when he won, which is why my brain died. But yes, it was Lewis Hamilton.
And another
I
thing,
believe.
yeah,
I might just be making myself look more stupid.
yeah. Another thing that we saw in Qatar was the Grand Prix Drivers Association not liking the Pirelli tire issues. Pirelli did say you had to go a certain number of laps on a stint. I haven't seen that in Formula One. The only time I really have seen that in motor racing was in the first IndyCar race back from COVID at Texas, where there was a stint length because I think they were using barely used tires because they couldn't make them because of the COVID shutting everything down. But that's the first time I think I've seen it.
Yeah, it was really weird to see the FIA and everyone step in and mandate pit stops every 18 laps. It's not a normal occurrence. I know a lot of people didn't like it. Um, it just shows how much of a mess that weekend really was.
Yeah. Moving on to something that wasn't as big of a mess. NASCAR had two races recently, Charlotte Roval and Las Vegas. Starting with Charlotte, it happened. I can't really remember everything, but Bubba Wallace got knocked out. Pull on a blank here. Brad Keselowski got knocked out. And two other drivers, but the main takeaway from that race was the chicanery of penalties. I think what that was a topic of conversation, and a simple rule is I think is if you lose positions, if you shortcut the chicane and lose positions, no penalty. You don't have to come to a complete stop. But if you gain positions, you should have to come to a complete stop. That's what I think the rule should be. I think IndyCar has the same rule. Because if you're shortcut this, I think it might have been Bubba Wallace, but it was Suarez hit Cindric, who I believe hit Wallace. It might have been another car, which spun him, that car, into the chicane. That car didn't stop, but he lost so many positions. It was a penalty anyway.
Yeah, I agree. It should really only be a penalty if you gain an advantage. Mm-hmm. If you lose positions, you're already penalized.
Yeah.
So it's it's just making the situation worse than it has to be, really.
Yeah, moving on to Las Vegas, another pretty much uneventful race. Kyle Larson won after he did a smack the wall in the middle of a race. I can't remember any time I've seen that. I've seen spin and wins. I think I've seen full on wreck the wins, but sidestep into the wall, I don't remember that. Yeah. A definite improvement from last year in Las Vegas for Kyle Larson after getting taken out by Bubba Wallace. But
Yeah, win's definitely better than a DNF.
yeah. Moving on to sports car land, Road America happened. Petit Le Mans brought a few wins. Meyershank Racing will not be competing next year, and they won out as a win, which I'm happy to see. The same cannot be said for Corvette Racing's factory team. 25 years the team went on, and they did not win. But a team who will also not be competing did win that GTD Pro class. That is WeatherTech Racing. That team has been around for a couple of years now, and they won't be competing next year in IMSA. But yeah, they did win. The other winners were the 30 JR3 and LMP3, the 04 CrowdStrike and LMP2, and in GT Daytona was the Forte Racing US Tronics Lamborghini, their first win on the year. I'm also going to name off champions here. The 31 Whelen Cadillac won in GTP over the 10 Wayne Taylor Acura and the 60 Acura. That team had the most wins and only finished third, which is interesting. And LMP2, again, the two teams with the most wins. The 11, what's that team called now? They've been three different teams in the last 3 years. It's TDS Racing. They had 2 wins and finished third. The 04 CrowdStrike team had 2 wins and finished third. But it was Paul Loup Chatine and Ben Keating, arguably the best bronze driver on the planet, winning the championship with only winning one race in the 52 PR1 Mathiasen. Keating will not be back with that team this year. He'll be moving on to United, so that'll be interesting to see. LMP3, the team that won the most times, won the championship, and Gar Robinson and the 74 Riley team, that they dominated that class when it was around. That won't be around next year, which I think everyone in the world's happy about, unless you're an LB3 team or driver. Similar story to LMP2 and GTP and GTD Daytona Pro. The WeatherTech team took the most wins this year with 4, but they only finished second behind the Vassar Sullivan Lexus team, which took 2 wins this year, driven by Ben Barnicoat and Jack Hawksworth. GT Daytona, Brian Sellers and Madison Snow for Paul Miller Racing won 5 races this year and took the championship in dominating fashion. So that's all really I have for that. Do you have anything to add?
No.
No. Shame to see all the teams I talked about earlier go.
Yeah, well, I will say, the end of factory Corvette racing is, I mean, kind of crazy, I guess.
Yeah.
It's definitely gonna be weird. I mean, there will still be teams running Corvettes.
Yeah.
But no Chevrolet backed team, so kind of leaves a gap in the sport.
Yeah, Pratt and Miller, who I think build the car to some extent, or they do something with the car and designing and building, they'll be taking over. So it's not a factory team, but in name, but it almost is.
Almost. Close ties.
Similar to what Porsche have with Manthe and WEC next year. So, yeah. Moving on to a lot of news in the last 2 weeks, a lot of sports car news. Aston Martin entering WEC Hypercar IMSA GT3 fields with the Valkyrie LMH. That had been rumored ever since the start, whether it was going to happen, whether it was not going to happen. Heart of Racing will be fielding the team. And this is the first Le Mans hypercar team that will be entering IMSA, which is nice to see. It's you've already had the Cadillac and the Porsche from LMDH enter WEC, and now there's going to be BMW next year and Alpine next year, and I think Lamborghini's in LMDH as well. That's going to enter. So growth in sports cars. I mean, I like seeing Aston Martin enter WEC.
Yeah, I do as well. I mean, I always like to see any team really enter any category. But yeah, it'll be very cool to see the Valkyrie. Really amazing car. So I'm very glad we'll be able to see it in that category, those categories.
McLaren confirms United Autosports as LMGT3 customer team. That's a handful of a new name.
Yeah, just a bit.
Yeah, nice to see by McLaren confirming United, that means McLaren's probably going to be racing in LMGT3. So it's nice to see McLaren getting a bid.
Yeah.
We'll talk to see who is left out, because there's going to be manufacturers left out when the WEC releases its entry list for next year. But if McLaren comes in, I'd like to see it. And also, FAF Motorsports is switching to McLaren for IMSA GTD Pro competition. So McLaren gaining new teams, because I do think there was a team in Asian Le Mans that ran McLarens. The only other team that is running McLarens right now is Inception in IMSA. So growth for McLaren.
Yeah, I think McLaren is always. It seems like McLaren's new goal is to just get into every series possible.
Yeah. IMSA also announced a couple sponsor announcements, extensions. Michelin extending through 2028, VP Racing Fuels extended through 2030 as official fuel, and the VP Racing Sports Car Challenge entitlement, which is one of IMSA's feeder series, and WeatherTech extending entitlement of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship through 2030. It's great to see stability long term, and for sponsorships and title sponsorships for any series, this is great news.
Unless you, for some reason, just hate those names. But no, I'm joking. It's good news. Good to see. Stability is always good, and the brand, it's recognizable. The longer it stays, the more recognizable it becomes. That's always a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you know tires, you know who Michelin is.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people know who WeatherTech is. VP Racing, not so much.
More niche.
But I know who they are. But yeah. Moving on. This is some great news as a racing fan, period, or as a human fan, which I am. I like to root for people.
Big human guy.
Yeah. Robert Wickens winning the Michelin Pilot Challenge title after what happened in Pocono in, I want to say, 2016, where he's having a crash, almost dying, and now being in a wheelchair and still be able to win car races.
That's a feel good story.
Yeah. Hopefully there's been rumors that he's going to be doing an Indy 500 next year.
Okay.
Please make it happen. I want to see it.
Yeah.
What is now called Aero McLaren said they would have him back when that happened. They were reserving his number for him, but that's kind of been taken up by Felix Rosenquist and now David Malukas.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless if it's with Arrow McLaren or his current MPC team and Brian Herta Autosport, which used to field an entry with Andretti. I'd love to see this happen. I would root for Robert Wickens. I root for him whenever he's on the track now. I mean,
I guess it's kind of hard not to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to move on to the whole Glickenhaus scenario situation?
Yeah. News today, which is yesterday, if you're watching this when this comes out, Glickenhaus bowing out of WEC after a short stint, but it was a good stint. They had multiple poles, multiple podiums, including Le Mans. I don't think it was really what the team wanted, but they had some good moments. And being a privateer team with a privateer car, with there was a rumor at one point Alfa Romeo was going to sponsor them and help them, which didn't happen. They were struggling for funds throughout their whole time, but I mean, they should be proud of what they did.
Yeah, for me, when I look at it, it's unfortunate that they're not going to be coming back. Really like to see them out there as, you're not a traditional entrant, and they still made it work as best they could. And now it's, the end of that chapter for them, but they should be able to look back at it and, be proud of what they accomplished.
Yeah. And hey, maybe someone might buy the old Glickenhaus cars and run with them. Maybe. I don't know.
And that'd be cool to see those cars out
This
there.
is something, you can hit the next one.
Sure. So Mick Schumacher, former Haas F1 driver, current Mercedes reserve driver, had a test with Alpine for their World Endurance Championship team. And it looks like he very well could get a spot on that team. If he did, doesn't exactly throw F1 out the window for him in the future, but it kind of does, and that might be the step that Mick Schumacher needs to take. There isn't a obvious spot on the F1 grid for him, and the World Endurance Championship is a great series. It would be awesome for him to go over there and succeed and do well. He could still keep the door open a little bit. Maybe he continues as Mercedes reserve driver. Maybe he becomes an Alpine reserve driver for F1. But I would really like to see Mick Schumacher in an Alpine drive. And he is a good driver, I think.
Yeah.
So it'll be really cool to see him if that does materialize. The test was today, and maybe the news will come out even by the time that this is uploaded that drive will be his. So maybe this is old news, but it seems very likely that he'll get that Alpine spot.
Yeah, right now with what their structure is in LMP2, you have to run as silver or bronze, gold, and platinum is the maximum you can do. Silver, gold, and platinum. Pretty much every team has all platinums driving for them. There's a few golds in there. So, in theory, that's 4 of your 6 drivers for the 2 cars. And then, so there's seats open. I would love to see Mick Schumacher in a seat. He deserves to be racing competitively.
Yeah, for sure. He's too talented to be sitting on the sidelines.
100%. Shifting gears a little here, we're going to talk about the Bathurst 1000.
I love Bathurst.
Yeah, I love it too. Like whenever I played Project Cars 2, that was always one of my favorite tracks.
Yeah.
Just send it down the hill. That's a fun track. But getting back to the news here, Shane Van Gisbergen won with his co-driver, who I don't know. I don't follow Australian supercars, to take a dominant victory. This shows SVG is a great driver. He's going to do great in NASCAR. He might not win his next year in his charcuterie board of drives that he's going to be having, but he's going to show us why he won the race and why he will and can be a playoff contender and maybe even a championship contender next year.
Yeah. So yeah, it's sorry. His teammate for Bathurst was Mr. Richie Stanaway. So shout out to him and SVG. And like you said, SVG moving on to NASCAR next year. That's really cool. I mean, we only got one little taste of him in NASCAR, and it was something special. So
you got a few tastes with Charlotte and then IRP and the Indianapolis road or Chicago IRP,
the Chicago
and
road
the Indianapolis road course. I mean, yeah, he looked pretty good at Indianapolis road course, and he seemed to be getting IRP, which is a nice little short track outside of Indianapolis, which it's been on big racing schedules for years. Nice track there. And kind of shifting gears to NASCAR.
Yeah, speaking of NASCAR.
Video games. iRacing acquires NASCAR license to produce NASCAR console games, which is a huge W. Better than whatever Motorsport 704 Games is producing. It better be better than that.
NASCAR Heat.
I do have NASCAR Heat 4 on my old Xbox. That is the only one that I have. I have played arguably the worst NASCAR game in NASCAR Heat Evolution. My friend unfortunately bought that on his Xbox, and I did play that and realized how bad of a game that was.
Yeah. I wonder what this console game will be like, though, because iRacing is known for very realistic simulation type of online racing. So I wonder if this console game will follow along that and appeal to more of the niche audience, or if they'll try to please the masses and come out with a better, well, hopefully iRacing, it is going to be better, a better version of a more arcade style game. Maybe not arcade style isn't the best way to call it.
Like Simcade.
Yeah,
that's
Simcade.
the term I've been using. I mean, look, I look at the Formula 1 games as that's of all the official games, that's the best there is. Yeah. You have story modes, you have a great team ownership role, you have a great career mode. I mean, what I'm expecting for the first game is, this is my minimum speaking, I want realistic physics, which I want no glitches on opening release day. I want
for a lot there.
Yeah. And I want all the cup cars and tracks, and I don't want a subscription. But what I want further down the line is a great career mode, a great story mode, some sort of owner-driver role or owner role would be very interesting.
Be cool.
I want to see Xfinity. I want to see trucks. I would like to. One thing I did like from the NASCAR Heat series, I'd like to see the dirt cars. Those were cool. Some sort of late model, maybe. ARCA, maybe. Those things of really working up the ladder would be a great thing to base career around.
Yeah.
And for people who don't like that, Oh, you can just go right up to Cup if you want.
Sure.
So that the playability of a career mode is something I want to see, and also eventually online crossplay, so I can get on my Xbox and play. People can get on their PlayStation, play with me. People can get on their computers and from the Steam and play, and people play from the Switch. All those four can play in the same lobby. That would be something I would like to see, because not everyone has an Xbox, not everyone has a PlayStation, not everyone has a Switch. Let's make it so that we can all play together. But if you wanted to play separate, you can all play separate. That's something I want to see. That's something I've been clamoring for. That I haven't seen many people wanting that. But that's something I want to see. Because Rocket League has done it.
Yeah.
I want to see that in NASCAR. Also, NASCAR schedule has been released. A couple notable things that are new. 2 weeks off for the Olympics. You hate to see it, but if NBC's running it, that's what's going to happen. I'd only like 1 week. That's my opinion. Darlington is now regular season finale to keep in line with its traditional Labor Day weekend date, not Daytona. Again, if we had 1 week off for the Olympics, it would be fine. But I do like Darlington keeping its regular Labor Day weekend date for traditional reasons. But I did like Daytona being the final race of the regular season. Create that excitement, create chaos, last minute Hail Mary. But yeah, I do. Again, this all goes back to the Olympics. I mean, I guess that's what makes them money.
Yeah, really. I mean, that's, a global event. NASCAR can't compete with that.
Yeah. A couple other notes. Atlanta and Watkins Glen are now in the playoffs. Daytona and Texas out. Texas did move to the more close to the beginning. That's what made IndyCar not race there, which is unfortunate. Actually, it should say Darlington, not Daytona out. But I liked having Darlington as the opener. Atlanta, Watkins Glen, Bristol. It's gonna be one chaotic round.
Yeah, I like Watkins Glen as part of the playoffs now.
Yeah. I mean, Atlanta is now the second race, so it's now Daytona and Atlanta back-to-back super speedway races. That big drafting style tracks.
Yeah.
Atlanta used to be the second race, but that was before it was a drafting track. And then there's the West Coast Swing. I don't love the back-to-back super speedway races. I'd rather have Atlanta, West Coast Swing, with Sonoma being a part of it.
Okay.
That's what I want to see. And then Atlanta. But, yeah. Another big talking point, no Bristol dirt race.
Boo.
Richmond now on Easter, which I don't understand Richmond being on Easter because that's really not a marquee event. I would like to see some more marquee event like a Talladega or an Atlanta be on Easter.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rather have Bristol, regular Bristol, or Martinsville. Those races are more marquee in my opinion than Richmond. So I'd like to. I would like to see that on Easter. No Bristol dirt. I mean, I like having a dirt race, but
yeah, it's something different.
Yeah, I don't really love it at Bristol. I'd rather see Eldora. I mean, we don't. Do we really need to have? No, this is my opinion. We take one of the Las Vegas dates and we move it to Eldora. That's what I would like to see. We might do our future our opinions of what the schedule should be in a future podcast. Who knows? But that's something I would like to see.
Last bit of NASCAR news.
We have got a couple here. Iowa replaces Auto Club in its demolition to a short track. I do like Iowa. This is that was one of the tracks I love to play on NASCAR for. This is something I've been wanting for a long while. I'm looking forward to this Iowa race. IndyCar has sold out Iowa. It did have the pre and post race concerts. I don't think NASCAR is going to give it the same treatment, but Iowa should get a great racing and great crowd, hopefully. And a few smaller notes to end up the NASCAR schedule list. No Xfinity Road America, which I think is awful. I love Road America. I think that might be my favorite road course. And not seeing it in any NASCAR series next year is awful. And with no trucks at Mid-Ohio, I think Mid-Ohio should be on this somewhere as well. I don't feel as passionate about it as Road America, but I do like it. Those are part of an overarching theme with fewer road courses on the schedule next year in all three series. Honestly, here's a thought. I would like to see the Xfinity series turned into a road course based series with about half the races on road courses.
That'd be very cool.
Yeah, that just to have something different.
Yeah.
And I would like to see those venues on the schedule with a bunch of other venues. And for trucks, I'd like to see the total short track based schedule, which we're kind of getting back to with these editions of Milwaukee recently, and I think Iowa's going trucks as well. That's something I would like to see. Do you have any thoughts on the NASCAR schedule release, Ethan?
Yeah, a few. I mean, you said maybe not at Bristol, and sure, but I think that there should be like at least one dirt race on the NASCAR calendar. Like the amount, and this was really only for the first year, but the amount of hype that was generated by that was astonishing. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise. That was the first NASCAR race I watched in a hot minute. I was really intrigued for that. I really liked it, and I've been, looking forward to that race. So I would like to see a dirt race at least somewhere on the calendar.
Yeah.
I think Road America is a cool track. I wish that the Xfinity series stayed there. I like your idea about the Xfinity becoming more of a road course series. But yeah, overall, I'm just pretty much echoing your thoughts.
Yeah. And then, want to get to this next piece of news here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Carson Hocevar officially gets his 2024 Cup Series call-up with Spire Motorsports. He's had a few bad races here, but especially his run at Bristol, I was impressed by Carson Hocevar and of how well he ran, because especially before he came in, Legacy was a dumpster fire this year, and with Noah Gragson and Eric Jones both running poorly. But ever since the Gragson suspension, the team's kind of stepped it up. And with both Jones and the variety of drivers of Hocevar, they've had Mike Rockenfeller in there. They have Josh Berry in there. Now they're bringing John Hunter Nemechek, who's going to be driving for them next year, and for this weekend. But yeah, they've looked a lot better on both teams. And Carson Hocevar, he's impressed me this year in trucks too.
Could win the championship.
Very well could win the championship. Getting his first couple wins, which I thought he would get win or two, but I didn't expect him to be fighting for the championship. Which, great job for Hocevar. I mean, skipping the Xfinity series is interesting, basically, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think kind of think of like the series as like a ladder up to the Cup Series. So yeah, skipping that run on the ladder, but he's only 20 and doing amazing in the Truck Series. I wonder how it's gonna go. You never know, but yeah, sure, call him up, give him a shot.
I will ask Spire Motorsports, give him time to develop. He's like you said, he's still only 20. He's young. He's gonna make mistakes. And I think if you give him his chance, give him 3 years. If he doesn't improve in those 3 years, hey, it's just a failed experiment.
Yeah.
But I don't think that will happen. I think Hocevar is a great driver.
Okay. Moving on. Roman Grosjean is entering arbitration with Andretti Autosports.
I don't know exactly what's going on there. Apparently, well, this is what I've read. Apparently, after, I think it was Long Beach, it might have been Barber, Grosjean signed the contract to continue with Andretti. Andretti didn't sign it back. So there's a situation going on there. And that, along with the Alex Palou situation, should be interesting to follow over the next off-season in IndyCar.
Yeah, so Grosjean will not be returning to Andretti for 2024. So he is entering an arbitration process over that. Yeah, I don't know. It's a very weird situation.
Yeah.
His jump to IndyCar he had some success, but it definitely didn't go as well as he wanted. He came close to winning a couple of times. I remember the big time I thought that he for sure was going to win was Long Beach. No.
Long Beach was when he was close at. St. Petersburg?
St. Petersburg, yes, thank you.
He wrecked out with McLaughlin.
St. Petersburg, yeah. McLaughlin took him out of the race. That was really unfortunate.
Yeah.
But the fact that he even had 6 podiums in IndyCar after almost dying in what ended up being his last Formula One race. It was a really good showing for him in IndyCar from that perspective. Of course, you can also look at it as he just didn't accomplish enough. Two things can be true at once, I suppose. But that's probably, where does Roman Grosjean go from here? We know where Andretti's going from here, but where is Grosjean?
He might be going to Dale Coyne Racing, back where he started. That's what the rumors I've been seeing.
So it might not be the end of the IndyCar road.
It might not be the end of the IndyCar road, but the road of being on a competing team races in every race. Yeah. And you can, with Andretti, they're going to be competent at every race. They have a good shot at winning with one of their 4 cars. Dale Coyne, they can win, but
not likely.
Not likely. They've won in the past. Dale Coyne, he's been that team has been scratching and clawing just to stay in the series. They've had a couple wins with a number of drivers, including Sebastian Bourdais. I haven't won in a while, but they can win under the right circumstance and driver.
Watch next next season we're gonna rock up to St. Pete and Grosjean is gonna win.
Yeah.
But I mean, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, and if Romain Grosjean gets one of those races to wins, I think we aren't talking about this. Or if he even gets a podium, like in Barber or Indianapolis Road Course or somewhere around there, this is a completely different situation, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot of what could have been.
Yeah.
Moving on from that mess to a different mess regarding the former head of Grosjean's former series, Bernie Ecclestone, will be paying $800 million after pleading guilty to tax fraud. Wow.
Yeah, he was one of the more the word that's coming to me is questionable, but that's not right. One of the more scandalous rulers. Infamous heads of racing.
Yeah.
Him, Brian France. Two recent motorsports heads that have gone to jail or recently with Brian France getting pulled over for a DUI the night after Chase Elliott's first win.
Yeah. Lots of messy stuff. I mean, Bernie Ecclestone hasn't been directly connected to Formula One in quite a while, and I think F1 is trying their best to
distance themselves.
Yeah, and they have been, and I think they will continue to. And this is definitely gonna make Formula One and Liberty Media want to continue on that distancing process. I mean, at 92 years old, Bernie Ecclestone can't stay out of the news. He just wants he just always finds a way to do something worth attention.
Yeah, I think Formula One the only news Formula One wants to hear is from Bernie Ecclestone is that he is not 92 anymore, if you know what I mean.
Wow. Wow.
And that he turns 93, obviously.
Oh, of course. Happy birthday, Mr. Ecclestone.
Yeah. But he's lived a long, interesting life. And there'll probably be a documentary on him within the next 20 years or so.
Oh, for sure.
Moving on to some happier news. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, this didn't turn into a football podcast? We're going somewhere with it? No, I'm joking with you.
Major champion Rory McIlroy, former world heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua, Liverpool and England soccer player Trent Alexander-Arnold, Spanish World Cup winner Juan Mata, and Miami Marlins and Real Salt Lake investor Roger Ehrenberg joining Alpine investors.
Yeah, I jumped the gun too early on the joke, but no, this did not turn into a football podcast
or a music podcast either.
Yeah, or anything. Still Formula One, NASCAR, IndyCar, all that good stuff. Yeah. Just these gentlemen have all decided to join the Alpine Investment Group, which we've seen celebrities already join it. Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney have also invested in Alpine previously. So it seems like if you're a big name, seems Alpine is the team to invest in.
It's interesting that...
It is interesting.
Kansas City players Mahomes and Kelce are investing in Alpine, while Mercedes driver Lewis Hamilton has invested in the Denver Broncos, a division rival of the Kansas City Chiefs. That is maybe some Oakland Raiders player or LA Chargers player is going to get involved, or someone's
Las
going to
Vegas
invest
Raiders.
into them.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, but I don't know. There's just I don't know what it is about Alpine.
Yeah, I mean, I do think they have a lot of potential. I think they could be on the level of where McLaren is now if they had better upper management.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They don't really have
yeah.
a clear, or
Mhm.
still don't really have a clear structure of
Yeah,
how the team is
yeah.
being run.
Yeah.
It's just a
Mhm.
mess. But yeah,
Mhm.
maybe all this new investment can be what Alpine needs to
Mhm.
straighten things out.
Yeah.
Will Alpine straighten things out next week at Circuit of the Americas for the U.S. Grand Prix? Well, we'll discuss that in our predictions and previews, which let's just jump right into that.
Yeah. I will say Haas is running an American livery.
Yeah. So Kevin
is
Magnussen is winning the race.
Obviously.
And Hulkenberg, actually no, Magnussen can win the sprint. Hulkenberg wins the race.
I would love to see Nico Hulkenberg get his first podium, but I don't. We aren't predicting that, but we'd bet. I mean, isn't Red Bull supposed to run something too?
I'm sure Red Bull will.
Yeah. I haven't seen anything yet about it.
No,
but I'm looking forward to it. I like the. All right, what do you think of the Haas livery?
I like it. It's okay.
I'd give it about an 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Better than the normal one, but it's all right. It's all right.
Yeah. They have new livery, new race suits.
New car.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe.
Yeah.
They're bringing an upgrade package to the race too, right? Yeah. So, big upgrade package. Well, we'll see how Haas runs, but for our actual predictions, me and Andrew have the same predictions for both the sprint, because it is a sprint weekend, and the actual race itself. We both believe it will be Max Verstappen 1, Lando Norris 2 for both of them. And I mean, can you really blame us?
Yeah, I mean, pretty boring picks, to be honest, but...
Yeah. The reason we created a second pick for Formula One was because of Max Verstappen dominance. And now it seems that it's either Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri that will be in second.
Now that you said it, that might not happen. We'll see.
We'll see. Maybe we jinx something.
Since you want to talk about that number there?
Oh, this one right here, the big 1-6.
Yeah.
So I am currently leading our points standings. I have 16. Andrew has 11.
Wait, why did I bring that up? You're winning. I shouldn't have brought that up.
Big shout out to Mr. Sam Mayer for the Xfinity win in Charlotte a couple weeks back. I know wheel.
Great shout out to Boris Said not even qualifying for the race. Yeah. I would have loved to seen Boris run. I mean, that car is good enough. I think they had some mechanical issues, but that car would have been top 20 car in speed if they didn't have those issues.
Yeah. So, we'll just give the full rundown. For Talladega, Andrew beat me with his Brett Holmes pick for the Truck Series, Ryan Blaney for the Cup
Blaney
Series.
winning the race.
Yeah, Blaney won the race.
Gives you 4 bonus points in addition to the 1 I beat you with.
Yeah. We already talked about Xfinity Series Charlotte, Cup Series Charlotte. We both took Chase Elliott, so that cancels out. Qatar Sprint, we both took Verstappen, and then for the second place, I took Sainz, who beat out Sergio Perez in terms of race position. We both took Verstappen for Qatar.
Both got 5 points there.
Yeah, and I picked Lando Norris to beat Carlos Sainz. And then for IMSA, I picked up 1 point in the LMP2 category and another point in the GTD category.
And then in GTP, LMP3, and GTD Pro, we all picked the same. And surprisingly, we didn't get a winner in that whole race.
No, we didn't.
So what do we know?
Apparently not much. But getting back onto NASCAR, I was correct in my Xfinity and Cup Series picks, not in wins, but they Justin Allgaier and William Byron beat out Josh Berry and Tyler Reddick to give me some more points, which is how we end up at 11-16. So, jumping into the Homestead Miami picks.
Yeah, I do want to preview it a little bit first.
Sure.
I think this is really cool. Kevin Harvick, he's been really great at Homestead Miami. We may or may not have picked him. They're naming the race the Forever 400 for him, which is really cool.
That's cool.
He's got 3 races left, and he's running a tribute scheme to the championship race in 2014, where he won the championship in that red and white Budweiser car with the yellow number on top, which was then used for when you were in the playoffs. You had that yellow number, which is, I think, something that NASCAR should bring back. I think I'm in the minority with that, but that's something I liked. Yeah, I think that's a cool paint scheme for that Harvick will be running, and I can't wait to see what other tributes he may or may not run at Martinsville and Phoenix. So, and then let me look at the point standings for the Cup race and the playoffs.
You want to talk about playoffs?
Yeah, I'm talking about playoffs. Kyle Larson, with his win, he has now made the round or the Final Four. Doesn't have to worry a thing about Homestead and Martinsville. William Byron sits +9 above the cut line, where Martin Truex and Denny Hamlin sit +2 above the cut line. Christopher Bell 2 back, Reddick 16 back, and Blaney 17 back after his disqualification and rescinded disqualification. That NASCAR rescinded, which was a good call because of their stuff not working. And Chris Buescher, 23 back. Important for those guys that haven't clinched, and especially for those further back, to get stage points and get stage points in big fashion. Yeah, I'll go first with my pick for trucks. I'm taking Christian Eckes to win, and I think he's a playoff driver, and playoff drivers come up big in playoff scenarios.
I am taking Zane Smith, who is.
He is a playoff driver.
Let me get my notes. Okay. Anyway, yes, Andrew said playoff driver. He did well there. Last year, did he do well there last year?
I don't remember.
Making that up. I don't know. There was a lot of stats for a lot of drivers I was looking at. He is my pick though for the truck series.
Xfinity, I'm going with another playoff driver. This guy tends to run really well and mile and a halves. And I'm taking John Hunter Nemechek.
I am taking for the Xfinity Series, I am taking Sam Mayer, who is in the championship battle.
Yeah, he's in the playoffs.
In 6th place currently.
Mm-hmm.
He had a win at North Carolina.
Yeah, you picked him there.
2023 Drive for the Cure 250 presented by Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina is the race that he won. What a rolling off the tongue name. He finished 5th in Las Vegas, but I am predicting him to win again. This is kind of, I mean, he doesn't have to win, but a win would definitely help him out here, and he is my pick.
And then my pick for the Cup Series, I talked about playoff drivers in big moments. I've also talked to Kevin Harvick, but I will stick with one of those two paths, and I'll be taking Martin Truex Jr. to win. He always has run good here. Does seem the past couple years he's had a couple incidents of him getting spun on pit road, and then that one year where he had the team. No, it was Denny Hamlin. In that same year where Hamlin had the tape on his grill and that ran his exhaust too much, and that car started leaking water. Martin Truex's team put the wrong tires on the wrong side of the car. So I do think Truex will win. He did win here when he won his championship. So yeah, I think he's a good candidate to win.
I'm taking current championship leader Kyle Larson for a back-to-back win and also back-to-back win at the this race, winning Homestead. Last year, he's just good at Homestead. Seems about as good of a pick as any for me.
Yeah.
And that just about does it. Any final thoughts, Andrew?
Thank you for listening. See you next week.
Goodbye.